Lebanon. I would mention two other initiatives. One is the Holberton Academy out of California, where Life has sponsored the launch of their first training school in Lebanon, with a second cohort now being enrolled. For people interested to get trained in deep tech skills, please apply. You'll find the link on our website. And lastly, Jobs for Lebanon, which is a marketplace that match supply of talents out of Lebanon to demand for vacancies globally. Again, I'll encourage you to check our website for that. I'd like to now introduce Constantin Salame. Constantin has a long career in working with both large and small enterprises across the world, notably HP or investment groups such as Al Ghurair. Constantin is currently a board and investment advisor with Verity, leading a number of their initiatives on the board of 10 companies in the region. He's also involved with Stanford's Graduate Business School's SEED program, where he assists in funding and alleviating the cycle of global poverty in East and West Africa in particular. I can't think of a better person than Constantin to help us steer the discussion this afternoon. So please, allow me to welcome Constantin to take over from this panel.
Thank you, Jean-Marc. Much appreciated. Jihan, if you could have the next slide, it would be great. First, a warm welcome to all of you. A warm welcome to our three founders of social enterprise. We're going to split it into three parts. One is we set the scene in terms of what are social enterprises, why do we need social enterprises in Lebanon these days, they play a critical role, and what are the challenges that they're facing. Then we'll have the testimonial coming from three separate social enterprises, all of them involved in reducing youth unemployment in Lebanon and providing technology jobs that are badly needed these days. We will then, I'll share with you an example of one program. This is a fairly large program that is also complementing the work that these social enterprises are doing, and then we'll open it up for question and answers. Okay, so it's going to be interactive, so keep your question, write them down, and then we'll have the Q&A session in about 40 minutes. Okay, so let me start with a social enterprise. Now, a lot of you are familiar with charity and NGOs. What you have on the left side of this graph, these are primarily funding from grants or funding from donations, and you have a number of them in Lebanon. Actually, you have more than 20,000 of these charities and NGOs. And on the right side, you have the businesses. These are pure profit making, or they have some corporate CSR program, corporate social responsibility program. The social enterprise is just in the middle. These are private companies. So they are, and why it's important for them to be private companies, because they need the sustainability in terms of profit in order to sustain their business. But most of their profit is going into social impact. So they're here, and this social impact, Jihan, if you could go to the other slide, the typical sort of social impact are the one addressing the challenges that we have in Lebanon. And these challenges are now becoming extremely visible and extremely clear. One is, of course, the increasing poverty. We have more than 50% of the population that are below the poverty line. This has been unheard of in Lebanon. So this is a huge pain point in here. The second one, of course, is the decaying infrastructure in terms of water, electricity, waste management, you name it. But for me, the most important one is the third one, is the youth unemployment. If I mentioned the figure of 35%, actually it's getting closer to 50% these days in terms of youth, and this is unacceptable, because once you have this situation, imagine what sort of problems you have in terms of the youth wanting to find an identity in terms of the life that they have, and it's difficult to find a point de repère these days. The Poor Governance Foundation is at the center of it. This is a huge issue in Lebanon. Hopefully this will be addressed, being it with this government or another government, but this has been a problem for decades behind it. The other one, which is related to high youth unemployment, is the huge brain drain. I mentioned here 40% of the graduates are migrating. The latest figure is 400,000 talents in Lebanon are looking for opportunities abroad. You know what 400,000? It's basically the total number of graduates that over the past 15 years across all universities in Lebanon. This is also a big issue that we have. So if a country without these talents, a country with high, huge unemployment will have major problems facing. So Jan, can you go back just 1 second? Thank you. So what is the other two that we have is, of course, the environmental impact. And the last one is the lack of government and banking support to these social enterprises that today the small, medium-sized companies account for 97% of registered companies and account for 50% of the labor force. And this have been left on their own over the past 12 months. Jihan, next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so I had the chance to give workshops over the past 12 months to probably about 30 different events where we had hundreds of founders of social enterprise, founder SMEs coming in. And the message that we're getting from all of them is very clear. If you want to help us in terms of getting access to funding, primarily grant funding. If you could help us in grant, it would be great. If not, debt funding. Help us in terms of keeping our talents. Our talents are leaving the country, they're leaving the company, and without these talents, we will be very exposed on it. Also help us in terms of accessing new markets. We need to export. We don't know how to do it. We don't know how to prioritize it. So this is where we need help and we need support behind it. Help us also in terms of using technology in order to differentiate ourselves from the other similar program that we have in the market. So how can we build a sustainable value proposition using technology and using innovation behind it? And this is critical that we have. Of course, help us by accessing advisory services. Now, a number of you are friends in the audience today. I know that a number of you are advisors, a number of you are also investors behind it. So what we need is, if you want to create this ecosystem that allows these social enterprises and small and medium-sized companies to reach out to those advisors. Help us in terms of best practices. A number of companies went through these crises, managed the crisis, and were able to get out of it. How did they do it? What are the success stories? What are the tips that we could use to it? And lastly, of course, is help us in terms of having clear social impact and milestone. So this is in summary, what is a social enterprise? Why do we need social enterprises today more than ever in Lebanon? And lastly is, what are the challenges facing behind it? So as an introduction, I'm going to now ask Fadi. Fadi Bizri is the co-founder of SE Factories. All three companies today that will be pitching are social enterprises. All these companies' main concern is to help find technology jobs. Fadi, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Constantin. Thank you, Life and the organizers for this great event. So hi, everyone. So my name is Fadi Bizri. I'm a co-founder of SE Factory. The SE stands for Software Engineering Factory. So 5 years ago, we had an idea, and I would like to tell you about the story of how we were able to execute on that idea and the learnings along the way and what I feel is an incredible impact we've had so far and our ideas for going forward. So I think everybody agrees that Lebanon's talent is the thing that we should be betting on, and that has a lot of potential. The question is, how can we maximize that talent and be able to connect it to the job market? It's the how that's really the hard part. So 5 years ago, I've been working in the tech space for the past 12, 13 years, and I'm in a venture capital fund by day called BNY Venture Partners. So I had an idea because of my exposure to companies looking to hire tech talent, and they kept asking me, I'm looking to hire developers and I can't find them. And I studied computer engineering, and it always surprised me because I knew that there were thousands like me who were also graduated. So if you had supply and you had demand, why wasn't it working? Now, as it happened, during that same time 5 years ago, Zena Saab, who is my co-founder at SE Factory and who also runs the Nawaya Network, her own NGO, was also having this idea, which is, she runs an NGO for helping to develop talent and entrepreneurship in the youth in Lebanon. And she wondered, what can you do in tech because there's so much demand in that? So we got connected through a common friend and we went investigating. We had an intuition that there is a bridge, a skills gap, or actually a certain gap between what comes out of many Lebanese universities in terms of the tech talent that is produced by the country, as it were, and with the demands of the job market. Long story short, we did our homework, we went to universities and we asked them. We went to tier 1 universities and we went to lower income universities, universities that teach computer science, but where the quality maybe is not the same as the AUB and the USG of this world. And we asked the students, and then we asked the job market, what are the missing gaps? And it turns out there's 3 main issues that prevent a youth in tech in Lebanon to get a good job, whether it's in Lebanon or, as we'll see, internationally, because we help them get hired internationally now, which is they lack practical coding skills. So they learn the theory in university, but they don't get the practical skills that make a professional coder. They needed soft skills, which was a bit of a surprise, but we helped them as well. In addition to our tech training, we helped them learn how to interview for a job, how to clean up their CV, how to pitch, how to work in a team, how to communicate, and so on. And third, and this was a big surprise, they did not know where to find the good jobs. I had students in universities telling me there are no jobs in web development in Lebanon or abroad, which is of course shocking. There's a huge amount of work there. So we said we're going to do a boot camp, a coding boot camp with a twist. We, as opposed to most boot camps globally that teach you how to code for a beginner audience, we take people who have studied some computer science, but typically from a lower socioeconomic background, who are not able to access the top universities, who learn some theory, but not much more. And therefore they are completely ignored by the job market. There's a bias against them because they're not from the tier 1 universities. And we said, we're going to take them. We're going to do a boot camp of 3.5 months. We run it 3 times per year. And we're going to teach them practical coding skills, soft skills. And at the end of the 3 months, we are going to connect them to the job market. So part of our work, as you see in this first picture, we connect our students, in this case on the left side, one of our graduates, during our demo days, which is when we graduate every single batch after 4 months, with the job market, which is the guy on the right. So we bring companies as part of our remit. We identify who's looking to hire from local or international, then they connect online. Now everything's online because of COVID. And then they start interviewing each other. And our theory, our hypothesis was that if we do all of this, we can achieve a very high impact, which is, in our case, our metric is a very high recruitment success rate. So that's our key goal. We train people, we complete their jobs into turning them into professional software engineers, hence our name, SE Factory, and we connect them to the job market, and we should have a very high success rate. If you can move to the next slide, please. No, that's the last slide, the one. Yes, there's another one as well. I think it's mixing. It's okay. We've had amazing impact. So let's go back to the previous slide in this case. Okay. So we've had amazing impact so far. There's a missing slide, but don't worry about it. It's actually my preference is to only show pictures of our graduates because that's the end goal. And basically, we have achieved a 90% employment success rate, 9-0. Basically, if you finish our program at SE Factory, you are statistically getting a job. Not only that, but in the latest batches, almost half of them were employed by companies outside of Lebanon. So we've achieved exceptional impact. These youth were people who were typically, their objectives was to get any job after university, and typically they were lower income jobs. With SE Factory, on average, they were getting a middle income salary, a $1,200 salary, more or less, that allowed them to get into the middle income status, which is such an important thing. So the impact we've created is outstanding, and we've graduated in the past 4 years, over 150 of them, and there will be 200 by Jan because we're growing. And we're now opening new boot camps. We had one in Beirut at the Beirut Digital District, and we opened one in Tripoli just at the beginning of the revolution last year. And now everything is on Zoom because we have COVID. So we've proven and we helped create amazing impact with our youth. Now, we've also are creating incredible impact with companies. How do we know? Well, they're hiring them, and also now they are paying us. So that's the best test. I always say money doesn't lie in that sense, which is that we have a business model, whereas before we were purely relying on grants, where we tell companies, join our recruitment partner network and be the first ones to meet our students. and it's free to join. And if you interview and you hire somebody, you pay us like a recruitment fee. So we're essentially a recruitment agency that trains its own people. And it's worked tremendously well. We have over 90 companies in our recruitment partner network from 10 different countries. So Lebanon, the US, the UK, France, the UAE, and so on and so forth. So we are basically creating tremendous value for those companies, and they're able to access very solid junior talent. And we validated what everyone says all the time, which is that Lebanese talent is very attractive. And it's true. To be specific, it is very good talent for medium to high skill and creative jobs at an affordable price. So Lebanon will never have the cheapest talent in the world. You probably go to India or to the Philippines, and for the lowest tech talent. It's really medium and high skills. So development is software engineering is a high skill. Then the salaries that the Lebanese would ask for in Lebanon are very attractive. And now with the crisis, of course, it's even more attractive. So we've built tremendous value there. And we have companies who, they wait for when we graduate our batches to be able to hire the students. And we help them by helping them by understanding what their needs are. And we recommend students along the way. So we basically work with our companies. It's like a customer success journey with them to help them find the talent that they need. In addition, we're expanding our offering to companies. It's all about offering continuously more value to them because we want to fulfill our vision to turn Lebanon into an outsourcing destination where there is brand Lebanon. You can hire good talent at a good price. So some companies come to us, if you can go to the slide after. Some companies come to us, this is just a sample of them. They're in Dubai and they want to build a junior team in Lebanon, and they have a CTO, they have a senior talent on their side. So we help them build their entire junior team in Lebanon. There's a company here, we help them hire 15. So their entire junior web team was in Lebanon. Their CTO was jumping between Dubai with the businesses and Lebanon, and they kept their AI team in Poland because we don't have yet AI in Lebanon. Other companies come to us, we have 2 of those in the UAE now, and basically they say we are building a tech product, we don't have senior talents. And we tell them, well, we have amazing junior talent, but we need some gray hair to manage them. But we work with senior developers. We have CTO as a service agencies that are made up of expert professional software engineers. They work with the client, they work with us, they build the product, and they onboard junior team members through SE Factory, creating, again, this, building together and connecting all of these elements that make up the ecosystem in Lebanon. Finally, in terms of the offerings that we do for them, we are offering what we call the managed service, which is like an offshoring service. We offer this to companies. For example, we have one in the UK, and we just signed one in the UAE, where these companies, these clients want to build digital teams in Lebanon, but they do not want to go through the hassle of setting up a company and a legal entity in Lebanon, because it's a very complicated process with the social security, with the administration, the legal, the paperwork, and so on. So we tell them, we will hire your teams, your digital teams, under SE Factory's legal entities. We have one in Lebanon, one in the UK, depending on what your needs are. We will invoice you 1 invoice per month, and we will help you. We will pay all the payments, the salaries, and so on. And this team will work for you. Essentially, we are helping you and offering you an entire suite of products and services to help you build your digital team in Lebanon. And it's working very well. So our core is we train tech talent. But for the UK client, they hired business analysts as well. We brought them under our own umbrella. And this is an extra revenue model that we're getting to. Our general goal is to wean ourselves out of grants. We have amazing partners. Al-Fanar, Life have helped us out tremendously. BDD as well. But we are gradually increasing our revenue models and growing the types of trainings that we offer. We're building training in tech, we have it. We're also building new programs such as QA engineering and others to be able to offer, again, more value for the job market outside. Why? Because it's a competitive global job market. You want to be able to create a lot of value, but you also want to be able to overcome maybe the negative perception of Lebanon. The way to do it is to offer great talent that is affordable, which is what we do, or to train it, which is what we do, and to remove all the hassle that you have in Lebanon, which is in this case, you don't have to set up anything. You literally work with us. We are your people on the ground, and you build an entire digital team in Lebanon. And so this is our vision going forward. We're partnering with great people. So in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi, we've partnered with Hub 71, which is one of the main tech ecosystem players there, and we're accessing all of their startups. And we're in discussion with the Scandinavian one as well. So our vision is to work and be a key entity, to summarize, that helps build digital outsourcing destination and building jobs, digital jobs and tech jobs in Lebanon. The way we're doing it is plugging all of those various gaps together, with the core being the tech, which is our expertise. If you can go to the last slide, please.
We'll need to wrap up.
Yes, I basically wrapped up.
Okay.
So in terms of our ask, we are in the phase of internationalizing SE Factory. We need to get more and more companies from outside. We're at about 45–50% now of our recruits are from international companies. We need to get more of that. So we're looking for all these companies looking to build digital companies, digital teams in Lebanon. We can help you with that. In addition, we also build coding courses and other things for educational partners. So we have that angle as well that allows us to generate some extra revenue. So we're working on that vision with all of our partners, and we hope to connect with many more people, and that basically wraps it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fadi. You and Zena have been doing an amazing job. I know that Michel from Al Fanar is a huge fan, and I know you have a number of other fans in terms of the funding sources. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Hortense Deco. Hortense is the founder of Codi. Hortense, I'm going to ask you to stick to the 10 minutes so that we could take as many questions as possible. Thank you, Hortense. Welcome on board.
Thank you, Constantin, and thank you to the LIFE team for inviting us to the conversation. So Codi was founded in 2017 to meet the demands of the growing ICT and software sector in Lebanon, which is sort of what Fadi spoke to earlier. And we were mainly focused in targeting the unemployed youth, as well as people with little to no academic background. Our program is sort of a half coding boot camp and half leadership course. And we have cohorts every 6 months that we graduate there and then. Over the last 3 years, we've had almost 80 students come through our program. Over half are Lebanese, and I would say in the last 12 months, that share has increased to about 80%. We have also seen a tremendous impact on the employment rates of our alumni. So our focus here is long-term sustainable employment opportunities, which have very much shifted from local employment into Lebanese SMEs, essentially. I think, Constantin, you were alluding to the penetration of SMEs and their share of the labor workforce in Lebanon. It's huge. We've very much seen that talent evolve and now work for international businesses. If we could go to the next slide, please. Sorry, next slide. Thank you. So essentially, Codi started with one core program, which was 6 months long, which taught full stack web development. So the avenues and routes for employment after our program have been quite diverse. A large chunk become developers. They become junior web developers. I must stress at this point that we really focus on forming junior talent. But our alumni have also gone on and do other types of roles in marketing, teaching, freelance, design, that are adjacent, if you like, types of work within the tech space. And more recently this year, we have launched a computer literacy program in order to really work with an audience that is computer illiterate. So our alumni are extremely diverse in terms of education background. Most have no prior technical experience. And in terms of last education, they have, there's a huge range essentially between people who might not have finished school and people who have undergrad or master degrees in various types of fields. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. I think here what we're trying to show is that Codi is supporting youth at every junction of their career path in order to enter the digital sector and increasingly the remote digital work and opportunities that exist across the globe. So we spend a lot of time recruiting this youth and finding them. We are open to absolutely everyone, but we ask for incredible amounts of motivation in order to join our program. So it's we need to make sure that we partner with all the right people to be able to share what Codi does and who can join us. Then, of course, once they are recruited, they join our program that is 6 months long. Throughout the course, on top of sort of more technical skills that they learn in terms of full stack web development, I'll stay outside of the nitty-gritty detail here. We make sure that they are market ready to be able to be employed correctly in the digital world today. So anything from how they are able to apply to jobs, but also market themselves as quality freelance talent that is, plurilinguist. That's an element that is sometimes overlooked. Our talent that graduates is mostly, is of course Arab speaking, Arab literate, and they speak English. English is a huge part of our program, and we make sure that there's a proficient level of English when they leave us. And then, of course, all the way into job opportunities, internship opportunities, experience, in order to put them on the right track. If we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This touches a little bit more on the type of work that our students do when they finish Codi. So as you'll see, like a very strong proportion work as developers. Almost half as junior web developers, and they either work as part of independent teams or as part of businesses themselves. And then we have a significant chunk of people who go and do all sorts of different jobs, teach as well, teach other kids, other audiences, this sort of work in order to enter the sector as well. I think one thing that we have focused on, especially in the last 12, 18 months, is to make this talent extremely attractive for the international, for anyone international who's looking for quality and creative digital resources. And I think if I were to conclude, I might speak about a little bit how the diaspora and the international community can support. So, thank you. So there are really sort of three ways. One is recruitment and outreach. Like, can you help us reach more people in Lebanon? Typically, we've seen a huge share of youth that is now not able to even go and get a university degree. And for those who are not able to leave the country just yet, there's this huge need for being able to develop an income in country and get fresh dollars in the country. The second thing is around life and leadership skills. So if you believe that there is something that you can add to the program, either through your company or yourself, we have a portfolio of life and leadership skills that are really central to every single student that we have. And then, of course, from an employment perspective, we are looking to promote this talent to work remotely. And similar to our colleagues at the SE Factory, both in teams for businesses who may choose to have whole outsourced teams in the country, but also freelance talent that's able to partner with other types of skills also in Lebanon in the digital tech space. Thank you.
Hortense, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Great content. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions, Fadi also. We have I'm going to introduce Marianne Bitar-Kara. Marianne is the Managing Director of BOT. I'm also encouraging you to write your questions. We have the Q&A session, so feel free to write your questions. I'll have a chance to go through them in a few minutes. So Marianne, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Constantin. So my name is Marianne. I'm one of the founders of the social enterprise BOT, Bridge Outsource Transform. How it started, Constantin, you just mentioned how NGOs are quite different than social enterprise. So we are a social enterprise that was a spin-off of an NGO. I run an NGO, a Canadian NGO called Digital Opportunity Trust. What we do as an NGO is build the digital and entrepreneurial capacities of vulnerable youth. And after so many years of working with this NGO, over 10 years, we've realized that unemployment is growing. Youth have very limited opportunities to livelihood opportunities and not jobs. And we've decided, well, why not considering the NGO as one of the pool of talents for the potential spin-off social enterprise BOT. So we've set up BOT in 2018. We've started assessing the market, whether companies or even the public sector outsource digital services. And we've piloted it with funds from UNICEF. So UNICEF granted the NGO a grant, and then we've started it, we've piloted it. And then in 2018, we started selling our services. So what BOT is about, we are a bridge connecting talented, skilled youth with digital skills with clients who are looking to outsource digital services. So they would come to us, there's a value to work with us, they can identify these freelancers, they are qualified to do the job, we are able to cater for our clients by identifying the right talent and the right skilled youth for it. And the way it goes, Jihan, next slide, please. So we have the client. Client can be the private sector or public sector. They would need a specific service. They would do an inquiry. A dedicated account executive would scope the project, conduct a pilot phase to really assess what would be the level of effort needed, the timeline needed, and the type of freelancer who can do the job for them. And then we'll code them. Once the project kicks off, the account executive, which is a team from BOT, is able to manage this workforce. Through our technology platform, we have currently 1,300 youth coming from our partners, Nawaya, for example, SE Factory potentially, Codi potentially, and Digital Opportunity Trust. So we onboard them on the platform. We are able to know a lot of information from them, from their geographical location, availability, skills they have, and also work experience and educational background. Once you identify this, the scope, the account executive is able through the platform to identify the right youth to perform the job. And then the project management happens. So once the project is implemented, we have several layers of quality assurance done by the team of account executives. And of course, there's a client servicing that happens once the project is closed. So what do we offer? We have 4 types of services. We have the managed service and the staff augmentation, which is a non-managed service. Under the managed services, we offer data management services, which could be data cleansing, data entry, AI, data labeling, call center support, collection of data. and e-commerce services as well. And under the staff augmentation, which is the unmanaged services, we are able to allocate to the client a youth or a pool of youth that are able to cater for their services. For example, Ariba needed 40 software developers to work on a specific client with them. Through our platform, we were able to find the right youth, provide the contact to Ariba, work on the recruitment, work on the payroll, and then Ariba does the project management. So these are the two types of two pillars of services we offer. So what have we done so far? Jihan, next, please. Currently, today, since 2018, we have 1,600 youth registered on our platform, vetted on our platform as well. Out of these 1,600, we have 314 youth who were able to generate an income. We don't employ them, but what we do is we create livelihood opportunities for them. Out of these 314 youth, as part of our social impact as well, 15 of them were hired by our clients. These youth, the 300 plus, were able to work on 100 plus projects since 2018 up till October 2020. So we were able to sell our services to clients, to more than 50 clients. And as I said, clients could be research institutions, could be non-governmental organizations, or a private sector from insurance companies, e-commerce companies, or statistic companies. Most of our youth are female that we're very proud of this because we're trying to push remote work. And given the context of Lebanon, and since we really don't want to have our youth immigrate and nor migrate, a lot of our youth are joining our platform, and we're trying to push women to work, to contribute to the digital economy, and also to be productive. We have a new segment or beneficiary focus, which is also people with special needs, because we see that there is a potential. Digital can access opportunities for them. We just need to give them the network and the space and the skills for them to be productive. So what is next for us? Since we've been funded by UNICEF, and we also raised the funds from Al-Fanar, in 2021, we will be more or less self-sustainable, and we're looking for further impact funds. Our next, what we're looking for in our journey, please, Jihan, the next slide. Our three main objectives. We know very well the Lebanese market. We want to explore the international market. We want to bring business to Lebanon. We want to have Lebanese talents, as Codi has mentioned, and SE Factory. The talent is here. We just need to open to access a network, a new market for them. So we want to try and sell our services abroad. We've tested it in the US, Australia, and Dubai. However, we're ready to explore new opportunities. We also want to grow on a local level. To position ourselves the main data collection and data management institutions. And we're looking into partnering with, for example, what we just had with Life, partnering with an ecosystem that could push outsourcing and that would provide us with a new market. Constantin, I hope I was not very slow.
You were perfect,
giving you the time.
you were perfect in terms of the time, in terms of your pitch style, and it's always a pleasure working with you. I had also the opportunity to be able to pitch to BOT community, which was a wonderful experience. So thank you, Marianne.
Thank you, Life, and thank you, Constantin.
Thank you. Can we have the next slide? Next slide, please, Jihan. Okay, what I'm going to do is wrap it up. You've heard from Fadi, Hortense, and Marianne. I'm going to share with you one program that we just launched. It's a program over 4 years, and most likely would be extended by another 4 years. The whole point of the program is to be able to address the social issues that we have raised in the past. Next slide, please. So this is a program that is, what we're aiming at selecting 50 companies. These are social enterprises. Now we're focusing on 3 sectors: agri-tech, clean tech, and water tech. So, but we will have other programs, and I'll share with you some of the other programs, looking at industry, looking at tourism, looking at fintech, looking at NGOs, looking at municipalities, in order to be able to strengthen the government, their governance foundation. So in this particular program, we're looking at 50 companies, potentially 100 of those. We're looking at companies that are innovative, companies that have a high potential to scale, and companies that would impact the different UN SDG goals in terms of youth employment, in terms of women empowerment, in terms of reducing poverty level, and of course, net positive impact on the climate. What are we offering? We're offering for the companies cash grants. This is fresh money, up to $300,000 for each of the company being selected. We're offering free technical assistance. It could be 1, 2, 3 assignments per companies, a market study, a product certification. We're offering financial assistance, helping those companies being ready to raise either new grants or to raise debt or equity funding. We will provide them with all the support, and we have a team of experts, and we'll be outsourcing to a number of advisors, some of the advisors on the call today, and most importantly is we'll create an ecosystem, a network. We have 4 donors behind us, USAID, we have the German GTZ, we have the Swedish International Development Agency, and we have also the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So 4 donors working in order to make sure, so there's going to be a lot of exposure to the company selected. Next slide, please, Jihan. So what are we doing in terms of making them investment ready? And this will be one of the questions that I will have to the 3 companies. On one side, we're providing them with the tools, webinars, and a number of you have been attending the webinars that we've been delivering over the past years, in everything from how you put together your business plan, how you do your cash flow forecast, how do you value your company. So we do this. At the same time, we help you adapt those tools to your own environment. So setting up a proper board, setting up a proper budget, having an internal audit in place, making sure that you have clear delegation of authorities, making sure that you have the right team with the right support behind it. And lastly, the 3rd pillar is when we realize that you are ready, then we'll help you put together your investment strategy together, put you and match you in front of investors. We have about 40 different investors across the region who are interested in working with us. So this is quite important. And these are, next slide, please, Jihan. Now, why do I mention this? Because this is 2 programs that we have here, Powering for Agriculture and Securing Water for Food. These are programs that lasted for 8 years. The program that we launched last week is a program initially for 4 years. It will be another 4 years. And we're going to have a number of these programs coming to Lebanon. Now, the one on Powering for Agriculture was $50 million. Typically, most of them $50 to $100 million. 50% of this is grants. These are milestone-based grants. We agree on what sort of milestones you're going to deliver, and then we'll disperse those grants to you as you deliver those milestones. But at the same time, these could be matching grants. We secure a funding source, we match it, the funding source match it, and then you get more funding behind it. On the other side, we have the one for water, and we basically leverage from the learning that we have across these 2 programs into this last program. So what are the outputs? You see the outputs. In this case, we had 80 companies that went through the program. We had 7 million beneficiaries. So these are the end users being affected, and they're positively affected and hopefully getting out of the poverty cycle. We're also producing additional food, water consumption, energy consumption reduced. And also we have raised additional funding beside the grant that we have provided. Typically, it's $1 per grant. You have about $1.5 in debt and equity funding. So these programs are exciting programs. These programs are grants. So I encourage you to reach out to us, and I'll be more than happy to send you the application for those grants that are coming in. And we're going to have several of those funded by those entities in different sectors in Lebanon. So this is positive news in a country that is going through a very rough time, with enterprises, social enterprises are going through difficult time, but we are trying our best to be able to reach out to these donors, help them structure these programs, and help them execute it in the country and in the region. Jihan, I think it's the last slide. You have one more? Okay, they didn't have. I had one, actually, I'll start, but I'll look at your questions now, and I'm going to ask for all 3 participants. Now, a number of you have mentioned that you're relying on grants. And Michelle Mourade is here. She's part of the team. Michelle is the general manager for Al-Fanar, and I know Al-Fanar has funded 2 of the 3 companies that spoke today. What I'm interested, you rely on these donations, which is quite important, rely on those grants, and Michelle is doing a wonderful job, and a number of other entities are getting this. How are you going to come up with a sustainable model in terms of changing your revenue model so as not to rely entirely on grants? So maybe each one of you would like to share your experience on how you plan to move away from just relying on grants to coming up with a revenue model that is self-sustainable, independent whether the grants are coming, not coming. Who wants to start? Marianne, Hortense, Fadi. Fadi, you hinted to it. Who wants to start?
I can.
Go ahead.
So the way we've set up BOT is from the start to sell services. So this is what we do. We don't provide training skills. We partner with NGOs who would provide these training skills, and then we would onboard the youth to come to us. And what we do is we sell services. Since 2018, we've piloted on a pro bono model in 2017. We've tested the model, and then in 2018 we started selling our services, quoting and relying fully on revenues. So we're not changing our model. We've been set up like this since the start.
Very good. Thank you, Marianne. Fadi, Hortense.
Thank you, Constantin. I think one thing the international community can really do at this point is just continue to talk about Lebanon and promote the work and the services that are available internationally for as far as like the digital sector grows. I think Marianne mentioned earlier that there's quite a bit of talent to curate into the digital space. And supporting this youth locally in Lebanon today is a really great way you can help entire communities and families who are in the country.
Very good. Thank you. Fadi?
Yeah, so I alluded to the fact that we already generate revenue. Once we've proven ourselves to companies, we told them, pay us a recruitment fee, success-based. If you hire, then you pay us a fee. Right now, it's not sustainable yet. And we still rely on grants, although we hopefully need them less and less. Our main issue is that we're not yet at a scale where the revenue is enough to cover our fixed costs, which tend to be quite relatively high compared to the current revenue. So our goal is to scale up in terms of the number of students and to scale up in terms of the types of revenue models. So we're working on a few others, like the managed service I mentioned, the educational training and so on. Hopefully, gradually we taper down our need for grants as our revenues go up. So that's our objective for step 2. And this is part of this internationalization of SE Factory that we need. So it's, connecting with more and more companies abroad helps us solve these issues, because then we can scale up and become sustainable as an entity. And to quickly mention, because I know that Al-Fanar is building an impact fund, our goal is to have a clear path towards sustainability. And then it becomes interesting, and we could open up our thinking to impact investment. Why? Because then we can take on new projects. So, we get into growth mode, and then we would raise money and then implement those growth projects. And because the overall system is already sustainable or close to sustainable, it starts making sense to look at it from an impact investment perspective. So we have all of those ideas and all of that pipeline in mind, and we're happy to discuss it in detail with whoever is interested furthermore.
Very good. Thank you very much. Another question, and I'm going to take the questions from the audience. Feel free to add your questions. We're going to address them all. Now, you have in the audience, you have about 54 participants. They're either life members, they're either investors, or they're advisors. So if you have one request to the audience, what would this request be? I know that some of you have mentioned it in your slides. You've mentioned a few points in terms of call for action. If you have one request in terms of the key pain points that you're facing and what sort of help you will need from those advisors, from those investors, or from those life members, what will this request be? Thank you. Marianne, do you want to start? Just
sure. Data. So in order for us to access markets, we need to understand what every market needs, and we need data. And so this would help us enormously to tailor our services for every continent or every market.
Very good, thank you. Hortense?
I'd take something further in terms of providing this opportunity to youth today in Lebanon. So really employment opportunities internationally that talent is able to do from the country.
Okay, thank you. Fadi?
Help us grow our network. Any company that you feel has a need to recruit, potentially recruit, or is open to building digital teams outside of their home market, connect them with us. We're happy to talk to them. Even if it ends up not working out, we get to learn. And we're also happy to talk with education entities, to network with them, because we also teach coding as a potential new revenue source, because some of our instructors have some free time, so we can optimize on that and generate more revenue. So connecting with such partners would really help us out a lot.
Very good. Thank you, Fadi. Look, there are a few questions. I'm not going to take them by order, but this is a question to all three of you. What are the different coding computer languages that you are teaching? What are the most common and the most popular that you have? Fadi, Hortense, Marianne, if applicable.
Okay, so we teach full stack web development. So all of the main open source web technologies. So PHP, Python, MySQL, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all the frameworks around us, such as Laravel, all the tools that make up professional development, and so on and so on. So it's mainly web technologies and web programming languages.
Okay, Hortense?
For us, technically, we teach the same. So we can share any detail to anyone who's interested. But on the front end, we also focus on teaching JavaScript with HTML and CSS, with a couple of frameworks that are really in use today. And on the back end, we teach PHP, Node, Laravel, Express, MongoDB, and SQL.
Very good, thank you. In other questions is related to the importance of women in the workforce and the work that you do. So in terms of your mix, and some of you have mentioned the statistics, how many are women that are part and benefiting from the services that you're offering, and how do you see this develop over the next 2 to 3 years? Marianne, you want to start?
Yes. I mean, we truly believe in women being actively contributing to the economy. As an NGO, we try as much as possible to bridge the gender digital divide gap, and the workforce that comes to BOT comes from these NGOs, from DOT specifically, and we already have 60% for 60% of our youth women. We feel that the model of BOT, since it's a freelance model, they can work from home, they can work based on their availability. It creates a new space for them to work, to show, to contribute, to bring in revenue to their household. And we've seen this growing at BOT and even at DOT, the training agency. Especially with the digital field. We were worried a bit that digital might be a hindrance, but it proved to be very different. We were very surprised to see the results in Lebanon specifically.
Okay, thank you. Hortense, is it primarily women?
Women are really a driving force of Codi as far as the team is concerned, but also the students. So we now have 30% of our alumni base are women, and nowadays in the current cohort, the numbers are around 35 to 40%. That's actually something that was a learning from the COVID crisis, is to introduce an element of blended work into our model, because our program is completely face-to-face. So the women who are able to take part of the course today are really key to driving the growth of more women into the workforce. And similarly, you know, these jobs are remote work, so this is the type of work that you can do from home. So the significant impact that you can have on the ability to grow women's responsibility and empowerment socially and economically is huge, whilst providing a flexibility of work that means that they can still fulfill duties that they have around their families. So we've seen huge amounts of success in that with women with or without children.
Very good. Thank you. Adi?
Okay, statistically, over the past 4.5, 5 years of training, we have a 21%, I think is the last number we had, of women in that. And the reason is that not for lack of trying. We have actually dedicated part of our outreach before every batch is targeting women. We put pictures of women coding, we have women ambassadors preaching the good word and alumni and so on. The problem is that the applicant pool predominantly is an IT applicant pool. So in computer science, engineering, and other forms of IT. And this is a global problem. The majority of them, or a very big percentage, tend to be male. So already the input pool to SE Factory is dominated by men, no matter how much we try. So we're at 21% or 20% on average. And we're trying our best to improve this because they're actually very, very good. You know, they're as good as the men and they're even better. So we're trying our best to improve the ratio.
Thank you. There are a few more questions. There's a question to myself: how can individuals access more information about the food, energy, and water program? You could either contact me, and you're going to have the contact details of each one of us, all four. We have our email. Feel free to reach out to us. In terms of the WE4F, you could also access it on the WE4F.org website /MENA for the MENA region, and you will have the call for application. So this is valid till the deadline is on the 15th of December. So in case you know of any company that could benefit from it, by all means, encourage them and send them this call for application. And if you don't find it, reach out to me. We'll be happy to do it. Fadi, a question. You mentioned hurdles you're facing in scaling up your work in Lebanon. What will be the top 2 or 3 reforms needed to facilitate expanding outsourcing sector for digital or other type of skills out of Lebanon?
Okay, so there's things, I mean, there's things we cannot control, which is the situation and so on. Ideally, we would like to reform a lot of many things. That question was related to government reforms, but the top 3 things that we all can do to work together, we've alluded to better networking and outreaching and promoting the fact that you have partners on the ground, such as DOT, such as Codi, such as us, SE Factory, that help, that will dialogue and engage with the companies outside to help you hire. So better access and connecting more and growing this brand Lebanon to counterweigh the negative perception is an ongoing effort that all of us should participate in. So just connect us with companies and with other partners, and gradually word of mouth will spread that you can find good talent in Lebanon. And if you work with some partners, such as the partners that we've discussed here and others, or directly. So that's the main, I think, one. All of us are covering multiple facets of the gaps, whether it's the types of training, whether it's the legal framework, whether it's different skills levels. We're all trying to plug all of those various gaps. So really, for me, the main one is that outreach and that access and that branding and that perception is really the big key for us that will help us, bridge the gap and connect the two sides. And also, a bit like Marianne said, get always continuous data about the job market so that we can continuously adapt our programs and make them relevant for the job market on a continuous basis.
Very good.
Two main ones.
Fadi, just one more in terms of is there a minimum requirement in terms of degree for accepting candidates, or do you accept, is it only from tier 1 universities, or do you actually accept it from across the universities in Lebanon?
Actually, almost always it's never tier 1 because they typically don't need us. The brain drain is immense. Almost all of them leave the country from AUB and so on. So it's not, and they have access. So it's not like they need us. It's really tier 2. It's people who go to universities where they're still learning the same computer science as the tier 1 universities. It's the same one written by the US, by somebody in the US, the coding fundamentals. But they graduate with patchy knowledge. The level of instruction and the quality is haphazard. They have a lot of gaps. That's one. And companies are biased against them. Companies don't hire, from anyone outside tier 1 universities. We take that, but this is the low-hanging fruit. These are driven, smart people with some fundamental knowledge. We just complete their profile intensively, and then the results speak for themselves. So it's like oil. You dig in a bit, you make an effort, you can create amazing stuff.
Very good. Look, one final question. There are many more questions, so I cannot answer all of them, but I encourage the people who ask the question to reach out directly to either Marianne, Hortense, Fadi, or myself, or also to Life. But the last one that comes in, one of the points that I've mentioned early in the presentation is the huge brain drain that is taking place in our country. This is, you have different statistics. The latest statistic was 400,000 people, young talents are looking to get outside. What will be, I'll start with Hortense and Marianne, what sort of recommendation do you have? What should the country do? What should this day, whoever is going to be the new government, in order to reduce this terrible brain drain that is taking place? Any tip that you would suggest, or any recommendation that you would like to echo and share with the audience?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. As far as brain drain is concerned, our previous experience suggests that when one is in a state of deep socioeconomic marginalization, your options are quite limited if survival and survival towards livelihood is the key concern here. So for us at Codi, we've understood that providing quality income opportunities in country and the educational pathways that lead to those income opportunities is really the key. And so at Codi, that's why we have focused our efforts on finding the best talent in the country. And the best talent from a, with if you like, not an average educational background, people who might have been out of education for a while or are currently unemployed. And Codi has become a way for people to go through that career change. So the opportunity for education and concrete income opportunities in country is really the key.
Very good, thank you. Marianne, any additional comments?
For our government I have several requests. First, if we want to really work on Lebanon being a knowledge hub, taxation is a major issue for us, social enterprises or companies, or for freelancers. So we need to work on the taxation challenge, and then infrastructure. Yes, we want Lebanon to be a knowledge hub, but our infrastructure is not helping at all. Some of our freelancers working in the Bekaa really have issues working remotely because of the internet connectivity. So infrastructure is needed, and of course relationships. The government needs to set up relationships and partnerships with other governments as well in order to access new markets. So these are the three requests that I would see relevant to BOT, to an outsourcing company.
Thank you. And just to underline what you just said, is that we are lobbying, and you're probably aware of this, as the Lebanese Social Enterprise Association with the government, to recognize social enterprises as a separate legal companies with special tax status in order to be able to help them get access to funding, get access to special treatment so as to be able to scale. This work has started about 18 months ago. It will continue with the new governments, and I think it's very important. A number of our countries surrounding Lebanon, Cyprus, Italy, others, Turkey, our neighbors in the south, are all extremely active in promoting social enterprises. We should learn from their best success stories and be able to implement this in Lebanon. Fadi, any comments on the brain drain and recommendation before we close?
In terms of reforms, I mean, a lot of the obvious ones. There's political reforms. There's legal reforms, which is the legal structures in Lebanon needs to be, the ease of doing business. All of this needs to be massively modernized, and it's really in the Stone Age. Payment systems, paying online, receiving payments, allowing freelancers to receive card payments, very simply. You don't have PayPal, you don't have Stripe. A lot of these are well known, but they are the fundamentals of a modern digital economy, and you don't have that. To set up a company in Lebanon, you have to jump through 10,000 hoops, which is actually why we offer it as a service, because it's such a pain. Whereas when I set up our UK company, I did it online. I didn't set one foot in the UK. So legal reforms, political reforms, technological, facilitating the digital economy and everything around that is key. The talent is there, the raw energy and talent and passion and enthusiasm is there. And they don't all have to leave, because if you allow them to work remotely, you can have people in the Bekaa, people in the north, in a very nice traditional old Lebanese house with a fiber optic box working with customers in the US. We have that already. So we can just, we have some of that already, and we can improve that. So those basic fundamental reforms are just not there. And, we all know the issues with our political class. So I don't have to go through that.
Very good. Thank you. I'm going to close. I would like to close by thanking all of you, all the participants who joined in. Thank you. Of course, Hortense, Marianne, and Fadi for preparing and for answering all the questions. You're doing a wonderful job, and really look forward to continuing collaborating with all three of you in the future. And of course, big thanks to Life, Jean-Marc, Zena, Jihan, Frédéric, for making this happen. I don't know, Jean-Marc, if you want to get a closure, or Zena, a few closing comments.
Sure, Constantin, I wanted to thank you for moderating this very interesting panel and echo what you said to our three panelists. Thank you for all you do for Lebanon. To our attendees, I just want to say that the recording and the slide deck will be made available to all. Please spread the word. Please hire from Lebanon. We need you to try to correct this brain drain. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. A nice evening. Stay safe and stay hopeful. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.